I just kept on working. I had no plan, I had no format for that.
Hollywood loves pretending its ghosts are just marketing. The legend lives on, they say, like it's a slogan, not a problem. But behind the gates and hedges, some of the most famous homes in Los Angeles still make noise. Neighbors hear voices in empty rooms. Contractors quit mid-job. People smell cigar smoke from actors who've been gone for decades. And in a few cases, the only way to calm the rumors was to gut the house or tear it down. Tonight we're walking through 14 celebrity homes that were supposed to go quiet, and didn't. These aren't studio myths or movie sets. These are real addresses tied to real names like Lucille Ball, Harry Houdini, and Sharon Tate. Hollywood tried to treat them like old stories. The houses disagreed. Lucille Ball's Beverly Hills house. Lucille Ball's Beverly Hills home was supposed to be the peaceful end of a huge life. It didn't turn out peaceful. After she died, people staying there kept reporting the same things. Footsteps in empty rooms, laughing in the hallway when no one else was home, and voices that sounded like someone running lines in another part of the house. The creepiest story that keeps coming up is the mirror. Guests said they saw a quick reflection of a woman with Lucy's build and Lucy's hair where nobody was actually standing, like she was still hitting her mark. Then came the renovations. Contractors said tools moved on their own, ladders ended up in different rooms, and equipment just vanished. One guy swore he felt somebody walking directly behind him down the hallway, staying in step with him, and when he turned around, there was nobody there. A few workers refused to come back at night. The house didn't feel abandoned, it felt supervised. People still drive by the place just to see it, because the story everyone repeats is that Lucy didn't really leave, and honestly, it fits her. She wasn't quiet in life. She built shows, ran a studio, and controlled her image in a way almost no woman in Hollywood did back then. The idea is that she's not haunting the house out of anger. She's guarding it. Harry Houdini's Laurel Canyon estate. Harry Houdini's old property in Laurel Canyon has the exact kind of mythology you'd expect from a man who made a career out of doing the impossible. The estate was rumored to have secret tunnels, hidden rooms, and private seance spaces. Whether all of that is true or not, part of the property did exist. It did burn in 1959, and ever since that fire, people who go up there say it doesn't feel empty. Visitors talk about sudden drops in temperature on warm nights, like walking into a refrigerator and hearing faint whispers near the old stone foundations where parts of the structure used to stand. There are also claims of movement. Multiple people have said they've seen a figure walking up and down what used to be an exterior staircase, a staircase that doesn't exist anymore because that part of the house is long gone. Others swear they've heard low voices, like two people in a conversation just out of earshot, even when they're standing alone on what's basically rubble and patio. Some describe flickers of light in corners where there's no power and no reason for anything to be on. The part that keeps Houdini's name attached to that land is his obsession with the afterlife. Publicly, he called out fake mediums and exposed staged contact with the dead. Privately, he kept trying to prove that real contact might be possible. He even made arrangements for a code word that would supposedly be used if he ever reached back from the other side. People lean on that now and say the Laurel Canyon property still holds that question. They don't talk about it like a normal haunting. They talk about it like an experiment that never ended. Oh, before we go on, I will be posting more videos like this, so please like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next deep dive from Golden Hollywood Uncovered. Okay, on to the next. Ozzie and Harriet Nelson's house. On TV, Ozzie and Harriet Nelson sold America the safest version of family life. The real house they lived in carried a different kind of feeling after Ozzie died. People who spent time there said music would drift from empty rooms, like someone was playing something soft in the background when there was no stereo on. The smell of cigar smoke, Ozzie's thing, would suddenly show up in the hallway, even after carpets, curtains, and furniture had all been changed. Guests also talked about presence. Not slamming doors, not yelling, just presence. Walking down the hall, people said it felt like someone was behind them, keeping pace. That feeling spiked near the den, which is where Ozzie used to sit and plan episodes of the show. Some visitors described it as being watched, but not in a hostile way, more like someone making sure nothing in the house was being disrespected. The house has passed through different owners, been renovated, and is still treated as a real piece of sitcom history. But the stories didn't die with the wallpaper. People who don't even care about ghosts walk away admitting it feels like Ozzie never actually moved out. It's protective, not violent. Like he's still keeping an eye on the version of family he built, even if the cameras stopped rolling decades ago. Thelma Todd's beach house. Thelma Todd was fast, funny, sharp, and famous in the 1930s for her work in comedy, including films with the Marx Brothers. In 1935, she was found dead in a car in the garage near her own beachside cafe and apartment in Pacific Palisades. The official explanation never satisfied a lot of people, and that's where the house's reputation really started. Tenants and visitors said they'd hear heels on the stairs late at night when nobody was supposed to be upstairs. Doors slammed with no draft. Random icy cold spots would appear in certain rooms and then disappear. People also reported sounds that felt like replayed moments. One of the most repeated stories is the car. Multiple witnesses said they heard an engine trying to turn over in the garage, the same garage tied to her death, even when there wasn't a car running. Others said they heard a woman quietly crying from that area, not screaming for help, just low and shaken like a scene on loop. The building itself has had different lives over the years. Restaurant, apartments, private space. Every time someone new takes it, they hear the stories and roll their eyes. A lot of them don't roll their eyes for long. It's not a theatrical haunting with flying objects and drama. It's heavier than that. It feels like something unfinished that never got a real answer. Carole Lombard and Clark Gable's Hollywood Hills Retreat. Carole Lombard was one of the most adored stars of the 1930s, funny, glamorous, completely alive on screen. When she married Clark Gable, their relationship became this golden Hollywood love story people still romanticize. Then Lombard died suddenly in a plane crash in 1942, and that's where the house in the Hollywood Hills stopped being just their place and turned into something people still talk about quietly. After her death, people visiting the house started reporting details that lined up with her, specifically her. They'd hear soft laughter in empty rooms, which fits the way people described her energy in life. Bright, fast, always joking. They'd smell her floral perfume hanging in the air for a moment, and then it would vanish. The most repeated claim is the balcony. Guests said they saw a slim figure in old Hollywood style step briefly into view on the balcony, pause like she was looking out over the city, and then disappear. Clark Gable himself was said to have gone back there after she was gone, just to sit in the house alone. People close to him said he could feel her there. The belief around that address isn't angry haunting, it's attachment. The house held the last version of her before the crash, and it kept that version. Are you enjoying this video? If you are, please do me a favor and hit the like button. Orson Welles' Tudor-style house above Sunset. Orson Welles didn't do anything small. His Tudor-style home in the hills above Sunset Boulevard was basically a private command center. Wood-paneled study, late-night idea sessions, him holding court at 2 in the morning like the night never had to end. It was a place where he rewrote scenes, rewired plans, and talked like he was still in the middle of building something huge. Tenants talked about doors slamming by themselves and the sound of a deep male voice echoing down the hallway when nobody else was awake. Some described it specifically. Not a mumble, not radio bleed. A confident voice like someone rehearsing or dictating, with that same heavy projection Welles was known for. Others said they'd get hit with the smell of cigar smoke in a room that hadn't been smoked in for years. There are also reports of music where there shouldn't be any. People said they heard orchestral swells in parts of the house, like build-up from a dramatic score, and then silence when they tried to track the source. The pattern with that house isn't trapped soul, and it's not lost love. It feels like control, like whoever lived there is still setting the tone of the room. Clifton Webb's Los Angeles residence. Clifton Webb built his name on precision. He had sharp delivery, perfect posture, total control of how he came across. The stories around his former Los Angeles home line up with that same level of control, just without a living body attached to it. After Webb died, the house started getting a reputation for being active in a very specific, almost fussy way. Neighbors and later owners said the lights inside would turn on and off even when the place was supposed to be empty. People inside reported classical music drifting through the halls late at night. Webb's taste, not theirs. Doors were found unlocked or slightly open after being shut, like someone had just walked through and expected you to notice. The mirrors in the house were another thing. More than one person said they fogged up for no reason, even when the air wasn't humid. The detail that gets repeated the most is the smell. People in the library or hallway said they were suddenly hit with a wave of Webb's cologne, strong and expensive like he had just brushed past them. It would be there for a few seconds and then gone. Nobody who tells that story describes it like a horror moment. They describe it like being inspected. James Whale's Benedict Canyon House. James Whale directed the classic versions of Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, and he carried that same dark theatrical taste into his real life. His Benedict Canyon home wasn't bright and airy, it was intentionally moody. Heavy wood, gothic touches, candle-style lighting, The place looked like he built himself a personal horror set and then lived inside it. Visitors described hearing faint organ music in the upstairs hallway, even though nobody in the house owned an organ. Some said they heard footsteps in the hall that would stop the second anyone went to check. People standing in the garden at dusk talked about seeing shadow figures glide past the windows, slow and deliberate, like actors moving through blocking for a scene. Then there's the temperature thing. Certain corners of the house stayed noticeably cold, year-round, no matter how hot Los Angeles got. Guests said the air felt heavier and sharper in those spots, like walking into a different building. The mood in that house doesn't come across like a soul in pain. It comes across like atmosphere that never shut off. W.C. Fields' West Hollywood house. W.C. Fields was famous for that gravelly voice, the bite in his humor, and the way he made it very clear he did not want to be bothered. His West Hollywood home reflects that same energy, just extended past his actual lifetime. People who lived there after him said they'd hear someone coughing in another room when nobody else was home. They'd hear the clink of glass in the study at night, like someone setting a drink down, followed by a short, irritated laugh. The reports get more physical when you talk about renovations. Multiple owners said every time they tried to make serious changes, new layout, heavy updates, things went wrong. Tools disappeared and then reappeared in places no one claimed to put them. Fresh paint wouldn't dry in certain rooms. Out of nowhere, a space would drop in temperature and feel unfriendly, like the house itself just folded its arms. People who talk about that address don't frame it as tragic or sweet. They frame it as territorial. The tone is basically, "Don't touch my stuff," which, if you know anything about Fields, tracks perfectly. Do you think that's real, or do you think the owners are just imagining it? Groucho Marx's Beverly Hills villa. Groucho Marx lived in a Mediterranean-style villa in Beverly Hills that was more comfortable than flashy. After he was gone, the house didn't exactly go silent. People who stayed there said they heard jokes, not just random noise, actual one-liners in an empty room. The kind of dry insult Groucho was known for, delivered in that sarcastic, amused rhythm he had on camera. There's also the cigar smoke. Guests said they'd walk into the library or hallway and get hit with the smell of a fresh cigar, even though nobody in the house smoked. The scent would hang for a second and then disappear. That's something you'll hear again and again. It's always in the study area or near the books, not in random parts of the house. One detail that really sticks is what happens when people try to clean the place of anything comedy-related. Multiple owners said that when they tried to take down vintage posters, old scripts, memorabilia, anything tied to his career, the house pushed back. Doors locked on their own. Electronics glitched. In one story, a guest swore they actually heard a voice tell them to leave it. People don't describe this haunting like horror. They describe it like Groucho refusing to let anyone rewrite his legacy, even after he's not physically there to argue. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's Chatsworth Ranch. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz didn't just live under studio lights. They also kept a ranch-style escape in Chatsworth. Dirt roads, open space, a converted barn they used as a private rehearsal spot. It was where they could test scenes and bits without executives watching. Away from sets, away from pressure, just them working, arguing, laughing, fixing timing. It was part relationship, part workshop. After they sold it, people in the area started telling stories that sounded less like haunted house and more like ongoing rehearsal. Neighbors said they'd walk past the property at twilight and hear Lucy's voice coming from the barn, full voice, full delivery, like she was running lines out loud. Some even said they heard her laughing between takes, the exact kind of fast, loud laugh fans recognize instantly. Then there's the percussion. More than one person swears they heard Desi's conga rhythms from inside that same barn, late at night, when the place was supposed to be completely empty. It wasn't random drumming either. People described it as patterned, like performance, like something you'd hear on an old I Love Lucy segment. Locals who didn't even care about the show still knew what they were hearing because it stood out in the middle of quiet ranch land. Neighbors say the weirdest part is what happens when you go check. People would approach thinking maybe someone broke in. From outside you'd hear pacing, lines, laughter, music. But when they looked through the windows, the barn was dark and empty. No one inside, nothing running, no speakers. The story around that ranch isn't tragic. It's not angry. It's that the place never stopped doing the thing it was built to do. The Lugosi Legacy Cottage. Bela Lugosi is permanently tied to one character in pop culture, the elegant, unsettling presence of Dracula. That image followed his family, including his son, Bela Lugosi Jr., who at one point had a small cottage in Hollywood. From the outside, it wasn't intimidating, it wasn't a castle, it wasn't even big. It looked like a normal, almost quiet little place you'd walk past without thinking twice. Inside and around it, the stories are not quiet, Guests said that on stormy nights, the cottage sounded occupied even when it wasn't. People reported hearing two low voices in what they described as Hungarian, the Lugosi family's language, coming from an empty room. Neighbors said they saw soft candlelight in an upstairs window in the middle of the night when the house was supposed to be locked and dark. But when they went to check in the morning, there was nothing set up there, no candles, no melted wax, nothing that explains the light. Then there's the bat story. Multiple people who visited claimed they saw what looked like a bat hovering by the porch, not flapping, not circling, just hanging in the air for a beat like it was watching them, and then dropping straight out of sight instead of flying away. You hear that and think, okay, that's people leaning into the Dracula myth. Fair. But it's the detail that keeps coming back from different mouths, which makes it harder to wave off as one person being dramatic. The last piece that gets mentioned a lot is physical marks. Owners after the Lugosi family said scratches appeared overnight on interior walls and along certain window frames, long, thin, and clustered like something clawed at them while nobody was there. They'd sand and repaint, and then new marks would show up. That's what gives the cottage its reputation. Not violence, not a full horror show, just a constant reminder of who's attached to the name on that property, and that the legacy never really left the building. Boris Karloff's Beverly Hills Bungalow. Boris Karloff played some of the most unsettling characters in film history, but in real life he liked calm. One of the places tied to him was a small English-style bungalow in Beverly Hills. It didn't scream horror legend. It was ivy-wrapped, soft-colored, and almost polite-looking. People who knew him said he'd sit by the fireplace, reading scripts in that measured, precise voice of his, working lines until they sounded exactly right. After he moved on, that polite little house started collecting quiet, steady reports. Owners said they'd hear footsteps crossing a room that should have been empty. Some described low voices near the fireplace, like an older British man calmly rehearsing dialogue and then stopping mid-sentence. It wasn't random noise, it sounded intentional, like someone practicing delivery, which is exactly how Karloff worked. More than one resident said their cats refused to go into the main living room. They'd stop at the doorway, stare into the empty space, hiss at the air, and back away. People usually laugh off ghost stories until their pets start acting like something standing in the middle of the rug that they can see and you can't. Then there's the figure in the garden. Neighbors said that around dusk they'd sometimes catch a glimpse of a tall, slightly stooped man in the yard. Always the same posture. Always the same slow turn of the head, like he'd noticed them. A few even said he gave a small, polite nod, and then was gone when they looked again. Nobody talks about this house like it's violent. The word people use is present. As if Karloff didn't leave a curse. He left manners. The Scio Drive legacy. The Sharon Tate house. Scio Drive is different from the rest of this list. Most haunted house stories are about one person whose energy lingers. This one is about an event so dark that it still sits in LA's throat decades later. In 1969, that address in Benedict Canyon became the scene of a cult-driven home invasion tied to one of the most notorious crimes in Hollywood history. Multiple people were killed that night, including actress Sharon Tate, who was 26 and expecting a child. The case shook Los Angeles so hard that it basically ended the free, glamorous, open-door Hollywood Hills fantasy. After that night, the property was never treated like just another house again. People said the air there felt physically heavy, like pressure on your chest, even before they knew where they were standing. Neighbors reported sudden waves of panic for no reason while walking past, and some swore they heard shouts and movement in the middle of completely silent nights. Not clear words, just that sharp human chaos you recognize instantly as something went wrong here. Visitors talked about seeing brief human shapes at the edge of their vision in the yard, and then realizing they were alone. The reaction from owners over the years says a lot. Most places on this list got remodeled. This one practically got erased. The layout changed, the look changed, the address itself was altered. The goal was to break the link so people would stop showing up, stop asking, stop repeating the story. Real estate tried to scrub the ground and call it new. Locals will tell you that didn't really work. You can rename walls. You can't rename what people remember happened there. Unlike a lot of Hollywood hauntings, this one isn't told with any warmth. There's no playful presence. No, he's still watching over the house. No perfume in the hallway. People talk about Cielo Drive with lowered voices, like they're discussing something that should still be respected. It's not the idea of one ghost. It's the feeling that a specific moment never released that space, and never fully let the neighborhood forget. Hollywood likes to act like its past is under control. A star dies, the estate is settled, the house gets staged, and everyone agrees on a clean story. But the people who've actually lived in these places, the workers, the neighbors, the buyers who thought they were just getting a nice house in the hills, keep saying the same thing. Some of these homes never went quiet. You still get the cigar smoke from an actor who's been gone for decades. You still hear a couple rehearsing in a barn that's supposed to be empty. You still feel the air change on a property that was rebuilt to erase what happened there. That's the part Hollywood doesn't put on tour maps. These aren't props. They're real addresses with locked gates and current owners, and the stories don't stop when the listing changes hands. Some feel protective, some feel irritated, some feel like terror that never cleared. The question isn't, are these places haunted? Because people who've been inside them will tell you that already. The real question is why certain rooms in this town refuse to let the story end. If you've ever felt something off in a house, cold air, voices, that pressure in your chest for no reason, drop a comment below so I know I'm not the only one.